Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Randana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Randana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Hari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtotar Satarshi Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Bhakti Vedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai Hare Krishna Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namne Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So is there any set order that we are following in this, or
the bookmark was lost and then
it's kind of just pick and choose, I guess?
looks
Okay.
I think Robert might have put a bookmark in the last one.
It looks like he read all of this stuff.
Started from chapter 5.
Yeah, I mean, the preacher is very dear to the Lord. I remember him reading this, although the bookmark is here. One who preaches, anyway. Lord is pleased with the preacher who performs the highest welfare activity. It is stated that great personalities almost always accept voluntary suffering because of the sufferings of people in general. This is considered the highest method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present in everyone's heart. Here is an explanation of those engaged in activities for the welfare of others, of how those engaged in activities for the welfare of others are very quickly recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord states in Bhagavad Gita 18.68-69, Yaidam paramam guhyam madbhakteshva vidhasyati nacha tasman manusheshu kaschin me priyakrittamaha. One who preaches the message of Bhagavad Gita to my devotees is most dear to me. No one can excel him in satisfying me by worship. There are different kinds of welfare activities in this material world, but the supreme welfare activity is the spreading of Krishna consciousness. Other welfare activities cannot be effective For the laws of nature and the results of karma cannot be checked. If one tries to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, he should be understood to be performing the best welfare activity. The Lord is automatically very pleased with him. If the Lord is pleased with him, what is left for him to achieve? If one has been recognized by the Lord, even if he does not ask the Lord for anything, the Lord, who is within everyone, supplies him with whatever he wants. The best welfare activity is raising people to the platform of Krishna consciousness, since the conditioned souls are suffering only for want of Krishna consciousness. All the Shastras conclude, therefore, that spreading of Krishna consciousness is the best welfare activity in the world. Because of the ultimate benefit this bestows upon people in general, the Lord very quickly recognizes such service performed by a devotee. So, here is one of the most important philosophical conclusions of the Krishna consciousness movement, is that our preaching is the best welfare activity. Generally, the impression of a sadhu, a saint, is one. I had asked this question recently to someone. What is your definition of saint? Saint is one who loves others. So what do you mean by love? So love is doing something for others, acting. And so then I refined his definition. I said, he who acts for the welfare of others without expecting anything in return. If you do welfare and you expect something in return, that's business. So love is when you try to benefit the other person, but you don't expect anything in return. So this is love. So a mother, you just hug you hug a friend. You don't expect anything back. You just hug him because you want him to feel better, and it makes him feel better. So this is love. But then the question is, what is welfare? What is welfare for any person? You want a welfare. So our acharyas explain that the highest welfare is to help a person come out of the cycle of birth and death. Because one can give a person, some clothing, some food, some shelter. Okay, it may last for some time, but ultimately it's temporary. Why? Because this material world is temporary. You can give it at the maximum for this lifetime. Then next lifetime, who will take care of him? So therefore, these philanthropic activities, although they're so, glorified by society today, it's not in the bigger picture. It doesn't make much of a difference. Now, of course, if people are so what about things like Śrīla Prabhupada or Acharyas say, asking sometimes poor people to be fed with prasadam? The idea is that as long as one is disturbed too much by material conditions, one cannot understand philosophical conclusions. So sometimes in some special circumstances, the acharyas have provided certain material comforts. But the idea is to ultimately bring them to Krishna consciousness. And such philanthropic activities were never institutionalized within the sampradaya. They were just performed out of active need, according to time, place, and circumstance. But if the members of the Krishna consciousness movement focus on philanthropic activities, then what happens is this aspect of actually giving them Krishna consciousness becomes covered. It becomes it becomes shrouded, because the focus is that one must give them ultimately this knowledge, and that ultimately, unless a person is liberated, like the Bhagavatam states, Pitana sasyat, Jananina sasyat, I forgot how it begins. Guru na sasyat, so Pitana sasyat, Jananina sasyat. Anyway, it says that one don't become a spiritual master, don't become a father, don't become a guru, don't become, what else is mentioned? Demigod. Don't become a demigod if you cannot liberate your dependence from the cycle of birth and death. So without liberating someone from the cycle of birth and death, the act of benefiting them is just like blowing on a boil. So, and people ask us, why are you not, conducting philanthropic activities? We're definitely not doing philanthropic activities to the extent of several charitable organizations in this world. In fact, on the other hand, we actually even criticize such charitable organizations because ultimately they don't understand why the problem, what is the source of the problem. The source of all problems in this material world is ultimately envy of Krishna. The living entities are roaming around in this material world forgetful of Krishna, forgetful of their relationship with Krishna, and are acting out of a selfish desire to satisfy their senses and imitate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus there will always be misery, there will always be famine, there will always be hunger, poverty, and all sorts of problems. So the highest welfare activity is to spread Krishna consciousness. If anyone has any comments, I take them. Yes, Prabhu.
I was listening to Prabhupada yesterday. He was having a conversation with these two priests, but he was bringing up different points, but the priests brought up the point, what actually are you doing for society? And one of the priests started arguing, you're intelligent people, but what about retarded people? What do you do for retarded people? And Prabhupada gave an analogy. He gave the example of a hand, but he was saying if you have some hand that's messed up or defective, do you just cut your hand off and replace it? He said you can't do that. He said we're not wasting our time dealing with the affected person, but we're trying to appeal to an intelligent class of people. And he was just saying that we're not, like you're saying on the purport, that the main activity isn't to engage in bodily welfare, but to appeal to people's higher sense of knowledge, and then through knowledge that they can be solved their problems.
Yeah, and also our understanding is that when we preach ultimately in this world, we can see that it is the intelligent class that influences everything else. So if the intelligent class is influenced, automatically the downtrodden and all these other classes are automatically influenced. So if the intelligent class takes to Krishna consciousness, then the whole world will change. Whereas if you focus on the other classes, then such benefit might not be achieved. Not that we are trying to purposefully neglect the poor. If they come, we will preach to them also. But considering the our limited sphere of activity and our limited capacities within the material body, we try to focus our preaching where we hope it might be most fruitful.
We have you're trying to save the person that's drowning, not their coat. But most people in society, the atheists, like the humanists and all the different people, and even the religion people, they have this misidentification of the self with the body. So they think helping the self means helping the body.
Yeah.
And so they're all no one's really gonna appreciate it too. So it's like unappreciated work, but
it's like we're performing
we can tell them we're doing the highest thing, but they won't really get it. And so it's like just only the people that are actually making advancement in Krishna consciousness will really get it. It's kind of sad, but that's what we were doing.
No, but firmly but surely, it will appeal to the intelligent classes if we keep pushing. It's how every system of philosophy was always opposed when it began. Whether you take communism or you take even these kind of movements such as the transgender, homosexual, and all these kind of things. They're all opposed initially. So Śrīla Prabhu makes this point very nicely in his book, Our Family Business. How the spreading of Krishna consciousness firmly but surely will take root.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And actually just 2 points on that.
one thing my Guru Maharaj says that he says culture is spread through the soft institution. So through the spreading of literature and knowledge, that's how culture is carried. It's carried through this knowledge, this culture of knowledge. And he actually mentioned another point there. It was just Bhakti Vikas Maharaj and my Guru Maharaj were having a conversation in Govardhan, and they were speaking about this one incident with a Jehovah's Witness, and they were in a Govinda's, and my Guru Maharaj was with one of his godbrothers, and they walked in, and the owner started telling him about this Jehovah's Witness who said he appreciated our books, and he said, yeah, I appreciate the philosophy, and I see that your followers are sincere and that the philosophy is sound, because even though you're so unorganized, you're the most unorganized religion I see, still it goes on and it continues. And he says, don't worry, we were like that 125 years ago, very unorganized. So.
Yeah, I remember, I'm hearing that, it was very interesting.
The Harinam Sankirtan does benefit all classes, and that's one of the advantages. We're not just doing books in prasadam.
Correct.
Some people won't accept the prasadam because they're afraid of it.
Yeah.
Some people, as we know, won't accept the books.
Yeah.
And anyone who doesn't have ear things that completely tune out the holy name will get some benefit from that. So. And another way we can explain it as well is that it's really our job is to do this welfare for the body. We're given this spiritual knowledge, which is something the other people don't have. So our job is to distribute that. And they're members of our institution, and there's other institutions in society that are meant for catering to the needs of the body. That's not our focus. Everyone has different roles to play in society, and our focus is to give spiritual knowledge. And another thing we can say to the people is that if they actually follow the spiritual knowledge we give out, then God will personally take care of them themselves far better than any welfare organization could.
Yes.
And even these homeless people, if you give them a mantra card and say, instead of saying any change all day, if they chanted Hare Krishna all day, they would find out that they have enough change to survive.
It's true.
It's the real change.
It's true. It's true. And that way, even when we distribute books, this will solve all your problems. It's true. It's everything. Krishna provides.
And I was thinking when they shut their ears, they already heard the mantra, so they already the mantra.
And it already went inside. And then when they put their hands over their ears, then it can't come out.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 2, text 28 and 29. Vasudeva Paraha Vedaha Vasudeva Paraha Makaha Vasudeva Paraha Yogaha Vasudeva Paraha Kriyaha Vasudeva Param Jnanam Vasudeva Param Tapaha Vasudeva Para Dharma Vasudeva Para Gatihi Vasudeva Para Veda Vasudeva Para Makaha Vasudeva Para Yoga Vasudeva Para Kriya Vasudeva Param Jnanam Vasudeva Param Tapaha Vasudeva Paro Dharma Vasudeva Para Gatihi Vasudeva Paraveda Vasudeva Paramakaha Vasudeva Parayoga Vasudeva Parakriya Vasudeva Param Jnanam Vasudeva Param Tapaha Vasudeva Paro Dharma Vasudeva Paragatihi Vasudeva Paraveda
Vasudeva Paramaka Vasudeva Parayoga
Vasudeva Parakriya
Vasudeva Parakriya
Vasudeva Param Jnanam
Vasudeva Param Jnanam
Vasudeva Param Tapaha
Vasudeva Param Tapaha
Vasudeva Paro Dharma
Vasudeva Paro Dharma
Vasudeva Paragati
Vasudeva Paragati
Vasudeva Paraveda
Vasudeva Paraveda
Vasudeva Paramaka
Vasudeva Parayuga
Vasudeva Parayoga
Vasudeva Parakriya
Vasudeva Parakriya
Vasudeva Param Jnanam
Vasudeva Param Jnanam
Vasudeva Param Tapaha
Vasudeva Param Tapaha
Vasudeva Paro Dharma
Vasudeva Paro Dharma
Vasudeva Paragati
Vasudeva Paragati
Vasudeva Paraveda
Vasudeva Paraveda
Vasudeva Paramaka
Vasudeva Paramaka
Vasudeva Parayoga
Vasudeva Parayoga
Vasudeva Parayakriya
Vasudeva Paramaka
Vasudeva Paramjnanam
Vasudeva Param Jnanam
Vasudeva Param Tapaha
Vasudeva Param Tapaha
Vasudeva Paro Dharma
Vasudeva Paro Dharma
Vasudeva Paragati
Vasudeva Paragati
Vasudeva Paraveda
Vasudeva Paraveda
Vasudeva Paramaka
Vasudeva Paramaka
Vasudeva Paro Dharma
Vasudeva Paro Dharma
Vasudeva Parakriya
Vasudeva Parakriya
Vasudeva Param Jnanam
Vasudeva Param Jnanam
Vasudeva Param Tapaha
Vasudeva Param Tapaha
Vasudeva Paro Dharma
Vasudeva Paro Dharma
Vasudeva Paragati
Vasudeva Paragatihi. What else? It's a very important verse. So, huh? Vasudeva Paramaka Vasudeva Parayoga Vasudeva, not Vasudeva. There, go on. It's Vasudeva, not Vasudeva. Vasudeva Param Jnanam Vasudeva Param Tapaha Vasudeva Paro Dharma Vasudeva Paragatihi Vasudeva Paraveda Vasudeva Paramakaha Vasudeva Parayoga Vasudeva Parakriya Vasudeva Param Jnanam Vasudeva Param Tapaha Vasudeva Paro Dharma Vasudeva Paragatihi Vasudeva Paraveda Vasudeva Paramakaha Vasudeva Parayoga Vasudeva Parakriya Vasudeva Param Jnanam Vasudeva Param Tapaha Vasudeva Paro Dharma Vasudeva Paragatihi. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Paraha, the ultimate goal. Vedaha, revealed scriptures. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Paraha, for worshipping. Makaha, sacrifices. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Paraha, the means of attaining. Yogaha, mystic paraphernalia. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Paraha, under his control. Kriyaha, fruitive activities. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Param, the supreme. Jnanam, knowledge. Vasudeva, personality of Godhead. Param, best. Tapaha, austerity. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Paraha, superior quality. Dharmaha, religion. Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Paraha, ultimate. Gatihi, goal of life. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please Him. Yoga is for realizing Him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by Him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know Him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto Him. He is the supreme goal of life. I was thinking that I will read some section of this purport and then let the next speaker speak more on it, because there's quite some discussion can happen on this verse. Okay, purport. That Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is the only object of worship is confirmed in these two shlokas. In the Vedic literature, there is the same objective, establishing one's relationship and ultimately reviving our lost loving service unto Him. That is the sum and substance of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita, the same theory is confirmed by the Lord in His own words. The ultimate purpose of the Vedas is to know Him only. All the revealed scriptures are prepared by the Lord through His incarnation in the body of Śrīla Vyasadeva, just to remind the fallen souls, conditioned by material nature, of Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. No demigod can award freedom from material bondage. That is the verdict of all the Vedic literatures. Impersonalists who have no information of the personality of Godhead minimize the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord and put Him on equal footing with other living beings. And for this act, such impersonalists get freedom from material bondage only with great difficulty. They can surrender unto Him only after many, many births in the culture of transcendental knowledge. So, here, in these two verses, the essence of all the Vedic literature is mentioned, that every single activity is ultimately meant for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All activities are performed with the aim of pleasing Him. So here different activities and different goals are mentioned, and it's stated how Krishna is ultimately the aim and goal of everything. So we're going to go one by one on this. So the first thing that is stated is Vasudeva Paraveda, that the revealed scriptures, the ultimate knowledge, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna. So in the introduction, Śrīla Prabhupada quotes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's summarizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Śrīla Prabhupada writes here, the Lord continued, Śrīla Vyasadeva has summarized the direct meanings of the mantras in the Upanishads in the Vedanta Sutra. Unfortunately, you do not take their direct meaning. You indirectly interpret them in a different way. The authorities of the Vedas is unchallengeable and stands without any question of doubt. And whatever is stated in the Vedas must be accepted completely. Otherwise, one challenges the authority of the Vedas. The conch shell and cow dung are bone and stool of two living beings, but because they have been recommended by the Vedas as pure, people accept them as such because of the authority of the Vedas. The idea is that one cannot set his imperfect reason above the authority of the Vedas. The authority of the Vedas must be obeyed as they stand without any mundane reasoning. So, as followers of Vedic tradition, we understand that the Vedas are the authorities. Why is the Veda accepted as authority? Why not some other book? Why not something else? What is it? It's coming from Krishna himself. So, how does that make it different from coming from someone else?
Krishna is perfect and others are imperfect.
Krishna is perfect. The living beings, no, parampara is when after it's been received from Krishna. We're talking about the difference of receiving knowledge from Krishna and receiving from another source. So, yes, Krishna's knowledge is perfect and others' knowledge are imperfect. How? It's stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the living beings have 4 defects. The 4 defects are that they have imperfect senses, they are prone to cheating, they are illusioned, and they are prone to make mistakes. So these 4 defects are not present in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why are they not present in the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Because he is not material but spiritual.
Because God is ultimately perfect. That is the definition. He is supreme. So you can't argue a definition. The definition is what defines a characteristic of an object. So here we're getting into some little philosophy, but this is important to understand. So Krishna or God is supreme and therefore is free from defects. Because if he's defective, then that which is not defective becomes superior to that object. So Krishna is the supreme, God is supreme, he is without defects. So knowledge that is given by Krishna is perfect. So therefore the Vedas are called as apaurusheya, that is received from Krishna. Now, therefore, the Vedas are accepted as perfect, and the Vedas are also known as Shruti. Now, Śrīla Prabhupada gives a very interesting. I pulled out the purport, but then it vanished somewhere else. Vedas, authority. It comes in the purport of the Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada says. Let me just pull it up. Well, yeah. Oh, here it is. Very interesting. So this is in the purport to verse 1 to 3 in chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada writes, the process. Okay. In Vedic literature, there are some difficult passages, but the meaning or purpose should be learned from a bona fide spiritual master. So that is the process for understanding the Vedas. Shruti means that one should hear from the authority. So Prabhupada gives a definition of Shruti here. Generally, the understanding is that the Vedas are apaurusheya and they are called Shruti, and therefore they are accepted as knowledge. But Prabhupada writes here that Shruti is not just Vedas, but it means anything that is accepted by authority. Why do we accept something from authority? Because the authority is repeating the words of Krishna. And therefore, that is also Shruti. That is also perfect. When the Acharya or the spiritual master repeats the words of Krishna, it is perfect. It is like receiving instructions from Krishna directly. Reading Bhagavad Gita as it is hearing from Krishna directly. There is no difference. There is no, we were present 5,000 years later after Arjuna. No, you can receive the same knowledge that Arjuna received. That is the power of Shruti. So, the Vedas are accepted as Shruti, and anything that is received as authority is also accepted as Shruti. In the Vedas, there are different sections. There is the there's a section of the for sacrifices. There are different things that are present in the Vedas. One can learn all aspects of knowledge from the Vedas. One can gain knowledge of material things, cosmology, politics, medicine, and all sorts of things from the Vedas. Yet, transcendentalists accept only one portion of the Vedas as beneficial for cultivation of transcendental knowledge. And what is that? That is the Upanishads. Upanishads is the end of the Vedas. So the Upanishads, Upanishada means that which brings you closer. Upanishada brings you closer. Brings you closer to where? Brings you closer to Krishna. Brings you closer to the understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So, therefore, Śrīla Vyasadeva, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was stating, he summarized the mantras of the Upanishads in the Vedanta Sutra. Therefore, although Vedanta Sutra is actually compiled by Vyasadeva, it's not a Paurusheya, it is not directly from Krishna. Of course, we understand that Vyasadeva is an incarnation of Krishna. But still, if we are to take the traditional understanding of Vedas, that which was imparted to Brahma at the time of creation, as is stated in the Brahma Samhita, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaya. So Adi Kavaya refers to the Vedas. The Vedas are sung. So they were imparted to Brahma at the time of creation. So it is the Vedanta Sutra was not given to Brahma at the time of creation. It was compiled later by Vyasadeva, but still it is accepted as Shruti by all these Vedic authorities. Who are Vedic authorities? In traditional sense, Vedic authority is famous person? Shankaracharya. Then Madhva, Ramanuja. Because why is Shankaracharya this is very important to understand. Why is Shankaracharya accepted as a Vedic authority?
Because using the Vedas he defeated Buddhism.
Because he defeated Buddhism. Now one person asked me, why is all the Vaishnava acharyas, why are they always defeating Shankara? Why don't they just forget Shankara, present their own philosophy? Why do they Shankara stated this, therefore this is interpreted wrong. Shankara said this, Shankara said that. Shankara said this, Shankara said that. The reason is Shankaracharya basically revived the Vedic culture by kicking Buddhism out of India. That Lord Buddha, incarnation of Krishna, came and preached this atheistic Buddhism so effectively that the Vedas were completely rejected by the people in India. And so Shankaracharya basically came and re-established Vedic thought process. And therefore, all the Vaishnava acharyas, all the way up to Śrīla Prabhupada, keep referring to Shankara. And again, Shankara is the one who actually said, who differentiated between the Vedas as the Upanishads and the four Vedas from the Puranas. Now, why is this a problem?
It's hard to prove impersonalism to the Puranas.
Because yes. And also because as Gaudiyas we accept Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is a Purana. Therefore, it is very important to understand why we have to defeat this understanding of Shankara. So, Shankara accepts, he says Shruti is more important than Smriti. Smriti refers to the Puranas and the associated literature, such as the Itihasa, such as the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. And Shankara says that these are inferior to Shruti, Vedas, because these are remembered. Why is remembrance considered as inferior by Shankara?
Because he thinks that we're imperfect. Right?
Yes, because he thinks we are imperfect. Because he says that anything that is remembered is ultimately, it is imperfect. So therefore the Puranas are inferior to Upanishads, because Upanishads were directly stated by. But the interesting thing that our Vaishnava acharyas also point out, if Shankara accepts the Vedas, why does he focus on the Upanishads? You should accept all. But he focuses on the Upanishads. He says, oh, the other portions, they don't bring you closer to the understanding of the absolute truth. He focuses on the Upanishads. So, by that he is also stating that even in the Vedas, there are sections that you are not supposed to focus on. You're supposed to focus on the Upanishads. So, by that culture of philosophy that Shankara has established, he is automatically, in that sense, he is more or less equating the Shruti with the Smriti. Because even in the Puranas, there are things you reject and things you accept. And then Shankara says that which is remembered is defective. Then why does he accept the Vedanta Sutra? Because the Vedanta Sutra is Vyasadev's compilation of the Upanishads. And then Shankara further, he accepts the Bhagavad Gita Shruti. Of course, the Vaishnava Acharyas, now the Bhagavad Gita, where is it present? It is present within the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is an itihasa. It is a retelling of several historical incidences. So it is remembered. By whom? By Vyasadeva. Again by Vyasadeva. So that is also Smriti. But yet he accepts the Bhagavad Gita. His argument is that the Bhagavad Gita is directly spoken by Krishna. It is directly spoken by Krishna. Therefore, it is God himself who spoke it. Therefore, it is Shruti. Yes, we accept that. But it was remembered. And also, so then to accept the Bhagavad Gita, again, Shankara leaves a loophole by accepting all this. The Vaishnava Acharyas, they pick these loopholes. Oh, see, these are the loopholes. This is why Shankara is wrong. So, Shruti means hearing from authority. Therefore, from the Vaishnava perspective, the Puranas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and the itihasas such as the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, they are all on equal footing. As long as you receive them from authority, as long as you receive them from a proper understanding, as long as you receive them from parampara. The Vaishnavas, to say the truth, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas are the ones who most emphasize in this regard. That we completely reject this distinction that Shankara brought in. The other Vaishnava Sampradayas, they distinguish. They say, oh, you they won't discuss. You go try to discuss with the Sri Vaishnava. They won't discuss with the Bhagavatam. They will ask you, speak from Vedanta Sutra or the Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita. So, but we don't accept this. We accept that Shruti is that which is heard from authority. And what is the ultimate purpose of such Shruti? The ultimate purpose, Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, is Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyaha vedanta krit vedavideva chaham. So again, Krishna states that I'm after reading all the Vedas, I'm the one who's supposed to be known. And what does he say? Vedanta vid vedavid eva chaham. That I am the one, Vedanta krit. He says, I am the one who actually wrote the Vedanta. So Shankara brings this. He says, see, Krishna says that he wrote the Vedanta, so therefore it is also Shruti. So he brings this argument. He says that this is also Shruti. Vedanta, Krishna says Vedanta krit. Vedavid eva chaham. Vedavid means Krishna is also the knower of the Vedas. So, the ultimate purpose is to understand Krishna, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this is the purpose of reading all the Upanishads and the Purana. So somebody was arguing, you say you are followers of Vedas, but you guys don't read the Vedas. So they put this argument to us. What is the answer? Are we followers of Vedas? Yes. Do we read the Vedas?
Yes.
Yes or no? He said no, you said yes. I think there's a problem here.
Read the Bhagavatam, which is Nigamakapatra.
We read the Bhagavatam, which is the essence.
Shukamakadam.
Huh?
There's also, it's like, they say the Bhagavatam and the Puranas are the fifth if you have 4 cows and then you add a 5th cow, they're still all cows.
Yes, it's also the 5th Veda. So ultimately, what we are reading is also Veda. That's another. Actually, that's a good explanation. And so we accept the essence. The essence is like reading. So then, but you're not reading everything. But you can't read everything. Because the Vedas, first of all, the Vedas themselves say that one cannot read everything in one life. Because it's not possible. Second thing, all the Vedas are not available. 108 Upanishads. Do we have the 108 Upanishads today?
Yeah, 16.
Something like that. Some people say 16, some people say 22. There are different contradictions. The thing is, only the 11 Upanishads are intact because that's what Shankara focused on. Shankara also, among the 108 Upanishads, he gave importance to 11. On what basis did he give importance to 11?
It's easier to prove impersonality.
It was easier to prove impersonalism through those 11. Now, he said 11. Did Vyasadeva give importance to those 11? No. So Shankara gave importance to 11. And then everyone gives importance to those 11. But the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, especially coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, totally reject it. So why these 11? Our acharyas, if you read our Goswami literatures, they quote from Gopal Tapani Upanishads. And if you go and talk to the other Vaishnava Sampradayas or because in the Gopal Tapani Upanishads it is directly stated that Lord Gopala is it's very evident, the Gopal Tapani. What is this Gopal Tapani Upanishad? We don't accept this Gopal Tapani Upanishad because there is actually stated how that Krishna is the source of also the Vishnu incarnations. So it's very controversial. So they don't accept it. But who focused on these 11 Upanishads? It was Shankara who focused on it. Why should we focus? We reject Shankara. So then, there's so many discussions. But anyway, the point is that the 108 Upanishads are not present. And therefore, you can't actually say that impersonalism is what is stated in the 11 Upanishads. And then, of course, the Vaishnava Acharyas have also explained how even in the 11 Upanishads, the personality of Godhead is described. Like in the Ishopanishad, is the argument. It's stated Krishna does not have blood veins and things like that. So Krishna does not have a form. Krishna is nirguna, or the God is nirguna. He's without qualities. Now there are problems with this. One is to state that something is without quality is a quality in itself. If you state something, if you say this is nirguna, then that is a guna. That is a quality. If you say there is no quality, then that is a quality in itself. So you're contradicting. Second is, yes, the Ishopanishad says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not have wings and things like that. But then in the later verse in the Ishopanishad is stated, please show your face to us. So what is a face? So then there is a form. So Krishna has a form. Therefore we refer to the Bhagavad Gita. Why is the Bhagavad Gita considered as the essence of all the Upanishads? Krishna spoke the Upanishads also. Why we give importance to Bhagavad Gita?
Krishna says this is the most secret, most confidential information.
Yes, but that's stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Yes. True.
Because Shankara focused on it?
Because it is the most direct. It is the most direct presentation. That is very direct. The more direct it is, the more superior the more superior it is. So Krishna says very clearly in the Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna, he says, Arjuna gives characteristics to Krishna. Krishna, he says, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Purusham. He uses the word Purusham. You have a form. And how is that form? Is it a form like us? Is material? No. Immediately Arjuna qualifies what he means by form. Shashvatam. He says eternal. And then what does he use the word? He uses Divyam. Divyam is never used for a material thing. Divya means transcendental. So he qualifies these two. And then Krishna also, he states, Janma karma cha me divyam. That my birth and my activities. How can a formless thing have activities? If God is formless, how can God perform activities? Or what is a formless thing perform activities? Or that which has no characteristics, how can it perform activities? Because when you perform activities, there are characters. There is a character that performs activities. So this is why Mayavad is called word jugglery. They keep juggling the words. Like it was stated that Krishna, he exists. No, he doesn't. So God, he does not exist. That does not exist, and it doesn't. It exists and it doesn't exist. It's such word jugglery. That exists and doesn't exist. What does that mean? It means that he's, according to them, God is existence itself.
Wow.
So what is existence itself? It's just existence. He just exists. But no, he doesn't. He exists and he doesn't exist. He's existence. But then I was saying, when you say existence, then that exists. No, it's existence. What the hell? It's just, so what is God? So they say Sat Chit Ananda. What is Sat? He is eternal. He is knowledge. And he is bliss. So what is bliss? He's bliss. But that's a characteristic. And then that's why you take Bhagavad Gita. Because if you just stuck, if you start arguing with these Mayavadis with their words, then you go nowhere. Because they don't even know what they're talking about. So therefore you take Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says Janma. Krishna says Karma. How can you have karma with a formless person? With a formless thing? It's not possible.
Well, their argument is that, Krishna takes the form and the three modes of material nature. Brahman takes the form of the mode of goodness and comes down and performs activities like that.
No, but then, if that is the truth, anyway, since you raised this point, I want to answer it. But if that's the case, then the word divyam cannot be used. The janma and divyam is used. Our birth is not divyam. Our birth is abominable. Yeah, it's conditioned. So anyway, they bring this word jugglery, and in this word jugglery, they try, these impersonalists, as Prabhupada says, they minimize the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord and put him on equal footing with other living beings. What did they say? Basically, it is us. So the Mayavadis give the example of Ghata Akash, Bada Akash. This is the analogy. Ghata Akash, Bada Akash means, Ghata means the air, the sky which is found within the pot, and the sky that's outside the pot. So they say the living entities are like souls, are like this living souls are like the sky that is found within a earthen pot. There's a pot, so there's sky, or in this case, let's say air for easier understanding. So there's air within the pot, and there's air outside the pot. So what is liberation? You break the pot. So then the soul becomes one with the air. So this is what they explain. This is how they explain. And in this way, the impersonalists, they try to make it equal. That the living entity ultimately becomes or is God. He is God, but he is God in this pot. So when the pot goes away, God becomes God. The problem is, where did the pot come from? Because they say that actually only Brahman exists. Brahman Satyam Jagat Mithya. That only Brahman exists, only God exists. Everything is God. Once I had the misfortune of accidentally hearing a Mayavadi speak on television. So my parents had turned this on, and so as a mic, the Mayavadi is talking in front of a mic. This is a real Mayavadi. He's one of the pontiffs of the Sringeri Shankara Mutt. which is a very, very powerful mutt that comes in the lineage of Shankara there in South India. So he's speaking in the mic. He says, this mic is Brahman. I am also Brahman. You are all Brahman. Ultimately, there is no difference between me and this mic. You see difference, therefore you are in illusion. But there is no difference. So it becomes so confusing. I and the mic, I and this and say, I and that I'm same, I and everything is same, and then there's some. It's very messed up. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he warns us. He says this Mayavada Bhaishya Hoi Sarvanash. He says by hearing this Mayavad, one's intelligence becomes so covered. You can't, because you lose distinction of, and you can't differentiate between, because you think, this I'm one, I and him are one, everything is one, I and God are one. There was actually this incident in Salem. This is a funny incident. Have you ever heard this? Gokul Chanda says this. So there was once, two people had come. I don't know, maybe one guy. So one guy had come into the temple, and he was looking at the deity of Gaurnitai. And he was looking at it like this. And Gokul Chandra went up to him and he said, this is God, it's Krishna and Balaram. Offer your blessings. Yeah, it's me. Is you? Yes, it's me. What do you mean? I am everything. You are everything? Yes, I am everything. You are God? Yes, I am God, and God is everything. So that means everything means everything. Yes, everything. So you and toilet are the same? Yes. So I am in the toilet are the same. Okay. So now what we are going to do? So you don't differentiate between the toilet and these deities. No, there is no difference. So then, this was actually in the middle of the Sunday feast. He said he took him to the toilet and he gave him an arti plate. And he said, now do arti, that is you. There is no difference, right? This is a follower of Shankara. So there is worship, there is a system of worship also. He said, do arti to the toilet. There is no difference. And, the guy, he went into a fit of rage and started cursing and, was yelling and screaming, and ultimately they threw him out of the temple. But where is your philosophy in practice? Why do you worship a temple? If everything is the same, then why differentiate? So this is the problem with Mayavad, that it's not practical. So this Gata Akash, Bada Akash, our Acharya has explained, where did the pot come from? And why is God contained within the pot? If God is contained within the pot, then the pot is actually greater than God, because it is able to contain the pot. Contain the air. It's stronger. So therefore we call this Mayavad, because if you actually analyze the philosophy, Maya becomes greater than God. Maya seems greater than God. Illusion, because if we are God and we are overpowered by illusion, then illusion is greater than God. So therefore these Mayavadis, they say when Krishna comes, he becomes enlightened, he accepts a form, Krishna learned. They give all these kind of very, very, very dangerous explanations that can completely mess up one's understanding. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu states in his conversation to the Bhattacharya, he says, these so-called followers of Vedas are actually more dangerous than the non-believers of the Vedas. They're more dangerous, they're more harmful. So, therefore, these impersonalists get freedom from material bondage only with great difficulty. So they're punished because of this. And they surrender onto him only after many, many births in the culture of transcendental knowledge, after they become frustrated that their philosophy doesn't make any sense. Then they, Bhavanam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadete Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. So therefore you see, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it explains exactly the same thing that the Bhagavad Gita says. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says Vasudeva Sarvamiti, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is also stating Vasudeva Paraveda. So I'll end my class here. Any questions or comments?
It reminds me of this funny story. I'm trying to look it up, but I don't remember the basic gist of it. So someone came and complained after hearing a lecture from Shankaracharya to him, and he's like, "You're saying that we're all Brahman and it's all one, but I went out in the middle of the road and there was a big elephant coming. I was just meditating, me and him are one. He came and he trampled me and he broke my leg or something like that." And then Shankaracharya's like, "Well, you're the small Brahman, he's the big Brahman. The small Brahman sometimes needs to get out of the way." He had to say something. That's You've heard something like that?
The story that
I don't remember it.
Shankara was giving like a discourse on how everything is one, and then like his student all of a sudden got it, I understood. And then Shankaracharya like, "No, you didn't understand, you sit down." He said, "No, I understood, you're Brahman, everything is Brahman." And then like, he went on the road and he saw like a mad elephant running. And like people yelling at him like, "There's an elephant, get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way." And then he got trampled and pushed over by the elephant. And he went up to Shankaracharya and asked him, why did this happen? He said, like when all the other Brahmans are asking you to get out of the way, why don't you get out of the way? Something like that. And like another one was that when, there's another one.
With the wall? With the wall?
With the
Has to
wall?
go through the wall.
No. So this one is that.
Yeah, all the other Brahmans is weird because once
Brahman,
they and him are all one. There's no difference.
Brahman
The
is
other Brahmans, you don't separately exist from me. We are all one according to Shankara.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Another argument that Baladev Bhushan uses against the Mayavadi preachers is that if we are all one, and if you've realized Brahman, there's no need for me to hear about it because you and me are one. So you realize it already. It means everyone realized it already. So you just have to shut your mouth and not speak nonsense.
Yeah, actually, I also recently put this argument to this person who was making these arguments to me that activity is, this is how they say, activity is based out of desire, which is based on ignorance. So if one is not ignorant, because God is not ignorance, He's not in ignorance, He has no desire, He has no activity.
He has no duty.
He has no desire, He has no activity, or duty, whatever.
That's the argument.
This is the argument that the Mayavadis give. That because God is not, that activity is based on ignorance. Okay, but then why are you writing so many commentaries? You are self-realized, Shankara, and your followers. You are all on the Brahman platform. You have achieved Brahman. So at this stage there is actually nothing for you to do. And if you do something, then you are actually in ignorance. So stop talking.
Yeah, that's a standard argument.
Stop talking. You are enlightened. This is why Mayavad is actually Buddhism. It's covered Buddhism. Because the Buddhists, they directly state silence is everything. Nirvana, there's nothing to be done. That what does Buddha do? He doesn't talk. When you become Buddha, you stop talking. Anyway.
And another one that the Mayavadis also use in terms of the earthen parts is that there's water and there's the sun. So the sun is up there and the sun is reflection. So the argument that Bhaktivinoda Thakur uses is that we're not parts. So why do you keep things so vague? Like when you use an analogy, there needs to be some relation.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is the relationship with me and a part?
And where did the parts come from, first of all? Where did the part come? Where does the water come?
There's a potter there.
You know?
But that was also a cardinal of mine.
It's just a question of clarification. So, as far as Mayavadi goes, like today and Shankaracharya, and then the four Kumaras, is the difference between the two is because the Brahman is like a step on the progressive passive trend of realization, and that the Mayavads, that they stop and they take the conclusion is that the Brahman is supreme, and they're offensive towards Krishna having form and personality, considering that Maya, whereas the four Kumaras, their realization is that Brahman is supreme, but they're not antagonistic towards, but they have understanding that the personality is supreme also, just not realized completely.
Yes. That actually the difference between the impersonalists, the technical difference between the impersonalists and Mayavadis is that these terms are often used interchangeably.
Prabhupada's purpose.
But there is a difference between the impersonalists and the Mayavadis. Prabhupada explains this in some of his purports. The difference is that the impersonalists, they just don't know that there is the form of God and all this. And they do not think that they are Brahma. They don't think that they are God in full. They don't equate themselves with God. Nor do they say that when Krishna comes, he accepts a material form and all these kind of things. They just see that the source of everything is impersonal and they worship that source, considering that source to be superior and understanding that that source is the destination they need to reach. So their understanding is not very refined. But it's true to some level because Krishna does have an impersonal aspect to himself. So, but the Mayavadis, they go further. Like they say, God, when he appears, avatars, he does this, he accepts a material form, and then we are also God, and this is all Leela.
Leela being
pastimes, Leela. Prabhupada says God becomes dog and dog becomes God, and this you call as Leela. This is your pastime. So that's the difference. The difference is so fine that these impersonalists, they almost don't exist today.
Yeah.
They existed in a long bygone age when there were transcendentalists who just read the Vedas and achieved this. But practically now, therefore Prabhupada uses it interchangeably, because whoever you may find as an impersonalist is actually a Mayavadi.
Yeah,
Today,
the technical term is like Brahmavadis and Mayavadis.
Brahmavadis and Mayavadis.
Like they worship Brahma. But I have a question.
I just want. So does that clarify?
Yeah.
That in order for you to like merge into the effulgence of Krishna, is Sayuja Mukti.
Yes.
In order to get Sayuja Mukti, you have to worship the Supreme Personality of God. Right. So the Brahmavadis, in that sense, would need to have realization of God, of Krishna. So that's how they would, get Sayuja Mukti.
Yes, there it is stated also that without some little devotion, one cannot achieve liberation. So they do worship. They do some kind of worship. Yet their worship is not very refined. It's complicated. Therefore it takes them very long to achieve that status.
Yeah. You also too have that verse. I mean, the Ine Bhakti Vinukta Manina. They rise up to this Brahman platform because they have to take a shelter completely when they fall down.
Because they do have the misunderstanding that the soul is ultimately supposed to not have any activity. So their aim and goal is to cease activity. But our understanding is no. Anandamaya Bhyasat. That Krishna is filled with bliss. Bliss comes from activity. And therefore the soul is intrinsically performs activity. Soul is not stationary. There's much more explanations I can give. The way Shankara explains the term unchanging. He says, when Krishna says the soul is unchanging, he says that means that the soul doesn't have any activity. That's not true. Because his thing is activity changes a person. That's not true.
It would be so hard to prove that Bhagavad Gita is Mayavad because it's so clear.
No, but Shankara did that, and you find most of the people today, they accept Bhagavad Gita the way Shankara explained it, or in variations and permutations.
Then do they also accept Narayana Paro Vyakyat and all that Shankara writes in
They write that and then they go on further also, because it's very vague. Ultimately, they have different interpretations. They say, Narayana Paro Vyakyat, but that Narayana is something like this.
So if they say Aham Tvam, like when Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyachi Namaskuru Mame Vishay Satyam Te Patijani Priyosame, how are you going to offer obeisances to yourself? Right? You have to offer obeisances unto someone else.
You offer obeisances unto. The thing is, let's understand one thing. We can't understand Maya.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. So we're trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. That's the problem. So But ultimately, to them, it's watching themselves, and they think that meditation upon themselves is skewed up understanding.
He describes in the Krishna book, Krishna, he does his daily duties. He wakes up in the morning and he meditates on himself.
Yeah,
Prabhupada writes
they'll quote something.
Literally, yes, that's it.
But Prabhupada writes in there, but he said this means that we should meditate upon Krishna.
He has only himself to meditate.
I mean, if I meditate upon my activities, man, then
That's terrible.
Yeah, so many people do that. Actually, most people do that in the meditation. They keep
meditate
thinking about their own
upon
worries and their own pastimes.
What their activities in the future.
So I'm like this, I'm like that, I'm like that. You meet all these book distribution means what? You keep
meet the
you glorify the, I'm like that. Oh, they immediately they're like, wow.
Oh, this guy knows.
Finally, there's one person in this
So
whole
realizes
planet
it.
finally understood how great I am, and therefore I'm going to give him a donation and take this book.
That's
Jai.
Anything else? No. Okay. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Visnu-citta Prabhu.
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam
Jai, Jai, Jai,
Śrīla Prabhupada
Jai,
ki jai.
Sarira Vichajam